one of the most important things with the standing work is our contact with the ground, so our feet. And in the session tonight, I spent some time sharing some things I found pleasant, if not useful, for looking at my feet and playing with my feet. For example, I'll routinely push and curl up my feet and pushing them with my palm to flex and work on the joints. I'll rattle the toes, so I'll pick them and I might shake and pull on them. And more specifically, maybe push on a joint sideways as well as forwards and backwards. So I'm seeing where it might be tight or a bit clunky. For me, I've got a version of hammer toes, so my toes don't fully straighten on their own. And over the last few years, I've been trying to gradually improve the range of motion in my toes. So if I'm watching television, I'll sit on the ground, or even if I'm in bed, while I'm reading, I'll have my other hand pushing and pulling on my toes, trying to, give them a nice bit of attention. So shaking them and pulling them in different directions. And one of the ideas I found nice that I think I got from Rafe Kelly or Ben Madar is putting my fingers between my toes. And when they're there, then maybe going over on them, so bending the entire toe while I'm spreading the toes. Or I might try and wriggle my toes while my fingers are between them, and that tends to give a nice sensation and work. So I'll curl my toes, I'll open and straighten them, I'll wriggle them, and you'll do that thing where the finger rolling or the toe rolling. And depending on what I think is nice, I do different things per foot depending on what I think the foot might need. And another exercise or thing I got from Rachel Blackman was putting the toes together, and which is surprisingly more difficult than using my fingers, even though they're smaller. I'm not sure why. So I'll put all my fingers all my toes between each other and sit like this while I'm watching television or something. So the toes, and then I moved on to the foot and the ankle and the knee, more so, with the seiza position. And this is where the toes are pointing backwards. And it's a nice one to sit and roll about on, adjust the weight. And there's a very good series by Tony Riddle on some different variations of this. So how can I squeeze out and massage the joints and compress the joints and work on a few things. I can choose how I point my feet. So kind of the easiest way for me is to let them go inwards so they touch. But I can also point them straight back, which gives a lot more focus on the ankle in this range, because it's the most angle on it. And in that position then, I can start lifting the legs and see what kind of pulls and pushes, and if I'm going backwards or forwards, and You know, how does it feel if I put my feet far apart or close? And you know, what's different? What do I like? What do I need? Then the next thing we did was on the balls of the feet. And likewise here, playing with the distance, far apart, close, forward and back. And here, for me personally, I find my left hip is a bit stupid or a bit sleepy. So I try and use this to be more active on the hip. And I'll push with my feet almost like I'm going to get up. So I'm floating. It's not really a rest position, but I'm floating there, ready to push up or take something. And likewise here, can I move my toes? Can I wriggle my ankles, move side to side, try and massage the joints and push the fluids around in the joint. And one of the big differences for the knee in this one and this one is this one is, I find, much tougher on the knee. It gets a lot more pressure and compression, which might be nicer, might be a watch out. And over time then this helps stretch out the foot, and if you're more active in it, it will help get the toes a bit stronger. So that was mainly for the knees and the ankle and the balls of the feet. And then we moved on to just a squat. And again here, there's lots of options. How far apart do I want to put the feet? Do I point my toes in or out? All of these have different effects. I think it's a great way to spend your time if you're watching television or something. Instead of sitting on the couch or against a wall, coming away from the wall and putting yourself in the middle of the space. And for some people, it's very ideally the heel. What I think is most beneficial is that the heel is flat on the ground, but that's not easy for everyone. And something that's very effective for doing this is like usually people might fall over. But if you have something to hold on to, like a chair or a couch or something, or a table, you can get the heels on the ground without worrying about falling over. And over time, you'll be able to squat. And this is a great one, for the ankles. If I go forward or back, side to side, just play around with it and really squeeze the joints. I like this for how it makes the joints, and particularly what it does to the hip. A particularly nice version that Francis Bryars suggested a couple of years ago to me was wider than hip distance apart and the toes pointing forwards. And much like doing this on the heels, on the balls of the feet, like that, a broad base really works on twisting the hips, and you can choose whether you want to give into that or not give into it. And likewise then in this position, the toes forward and makes the knee a torque where it's pulling on the hip in that direction. So if my feet are a bit wide, I feel that twisting on the knee, pulling on the knee a bit, and also into the pelvis. These aren't things that are essential to the standing work, but I found it really beneficial for my feet, for my legs, and that helps with the standing work, I found. The last bit we looked at was this kind of sitting. So this is more focused on the hip and the lower back. And usually a lot of people, when they sit like this, they'll have a slump and they won't really be able to sit upright because everything is so tight. But what I found is useful is bending the knees. And if I bend the knees maybe until my feet are on the ground, I feel that position where my back is tall, I feel my head is rising, and I'm on the bones of my hips, or the two sit bones as it were. And I can gradually let the feet go out for as far as I can keep the sit bones easily. And honestly, for me, I can go as far as here without conscious effort. When I start straightening out, I do have to put some tension. I feel some tension in my lower back. And an option to play with this is if I'm here, bending forward so that my armpits are on my knees and my stomach is against my thighs. And there's two options then. I could slide my ass backwards and trying to maintain this position on my thighs and see how far I can get before it becomes an effort. Maybe just stop there. What for me is most important with this stuff, it needs to be a casual habit and not something effortful. I think of the way a cat or an ape will play around and sit. So I found these things are really good supportive practices for the standing, because the feet and how we use the feet is often neglected. Brief recap of what we covered in the session today. One of my main learnings from the last 10-15 years of doing the standing and stillness work is the importance of balancing it with some bit of movement. So I picked out a couple of movements that we could do before or after, or maybe in the middle of standing sessions, on top of whatever else your instinct might tell you. So starting with the feet, putting the index finger and thumbs on the hips as so. Go over onto one side so that the ball of the foot is just touching on your free leg, so there's no weight in it. And draw circles with your knee, and your heel will touch at the back end of the circle, but you won't settle your weight. So it touches, it kisses the ground. And we'll do that 9 times out, then 9 times in. And then on the other side, 9 times in, and 9 times out. The second movement, hands on the knees, and dipping down to the side, and going forward as low as is comfortable. You do not have to go all the way down. See what your balance and your strength is comfortable with. And back out. So it's a smooth motion, as low as is comfortable. So for me it's okay to go all the way down and out to the side and back up. The heels will come up off the ground in this motion, which is perfectly fine. And we do that 3 times one direction, 3 times the other direction. The third motion, I set my feet, toes pointing forward, maybe swing my leg out about that wide apart, doesn't have to be any specific distance. And I move my spine, I move my hips, like so, my toes point forward, and my arms will follow the body. And depending on how you feel, it can be very gentle. If maybe you're worried about straining your shoulder, do it slowly. And if you're more interested in other things, so you can go more quickly as well. And then at the end, when you stop, see if you can stop like the way a ball stops rolling. So I'm not going to seize up and stop myself moving, but that it ends naturally of its own accord, as if I was a mechanism. Then the fourth movement, pointing the index fingers and curling up the fists, like this, so my fingers point down, then they point out to the sides. I keep my heels and ass sunk, so I resist the urge to let my ass and heels follow my hands. So every bit my hands go up, my ass and heels sink down. And at the top, 3 circles in, and then 3 circles out. And then elbows go to the side, and when I come to my temples, the fingers point down and my arms follow. And we do this 3 times all together. Those are the 4 movements. You can do them before or after a standing piece, and that can help with making sure nothing gets stuck, either psychologically or physically. A check-in to see if anything has been a bit tight before or after the standing work. For the standing, what we did was just setting the timer for 3 minutes and noticing what we notice. So where does my attention go? Do I notice that my feet, my weight goes onto one side a lot, or that my back feels tight? And what's my instinct on adjusting? And did that for twice for 3 minutes. It doesn't have to be a long time. We begin and see how it goes.